Imagine a world where you could virtually walk through a historical site, exactly as it looked centuries ago.
Mm.
Or maybe picture pre-visualizing a complex surgery on a perfect digital copy of a patient's body.
Yeah, incredible visualization.
Right. And think about how just a simple 2D picture, or maybe a few scans, could suddenly become this really rich, detailed 3D model, something you can explore and analyze, interact with from, well, every angle.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's happening now.
Exactly. And today, we're diving deep into the tech that makes all this possible. The fascinating global market for 3D reconstruction software.
It's a really dynamic space.
Absolutely. So think of this deep dive as your shortcut to understanding this whole sector.
Hmm.
It's expanding really fast. We've basically taken a fresh market forecast, pulled out the most important bits of knowledge, and we'll show you exactly how this technology is, well, redefining industries. I mean, we're talking architecture, archaeology, gaming, healthcare, manufacturing.
Very diverse field.
Totally. All being transformed by this ability to turn simple data into these incredibly immersive, data-rich 3D models. And just to give you a sense of the scale, I mean, this market was already worth over $1 billion back in 2021.
Yeah, $1.16 billion in 2021. But what's really compelling here isn't just that starting point, it's the trajectory,
Okay.
This market isn't just growing, it's projected to, well, skyrocket. We're looking at over $4.18 billion by 2033. That's a compound annual growth rate, AGR, of over 11%.
Wow, that's serious growth.
It is. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just about bigger numbers on a spreadsheet. It really reflects a confluence of things. The dramatic expansion of how it's being used.
Right, the use cases.
Exactly. Plus, big advancements in computing power, better algorithms, and just this huge demand for high-res, precise digital models across, well, almost every sector you can think of.
So it's becoming foundational tech.
You could say that. It's sort of becoming a foundational layer for our increasingly digital world.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Maybe start with a regional breakdown. And, well, North America seems like the obvious place to begin, right? Innovation often starts there.
That's a good place to start.
So the data shows North America was leading back in 2021, generating over $425 million, and it's projected to keep that lead, growing to almost $1.5 billion by 2033. So what's really driving that solid, consistent growth there?
Well, what really stands out in North America is just how widely it's being adopted. The United States, as you probably guess, is a major engine. It accounts for the lion's share of that revenue, and the projected growth looking at about $1.15 billion by 2033, growing around 10.7% annually.
Okay, so the U.S. is huge.
It is. But it's not just the U.S. We're seeing Canada showing really robust momentum, too. Starting from about $47 million in 2021, expected to hit nearly $176 million by 2033. That's actually a slightly higher CAGR, over 11.5%.
Interesting.
And Mexico is also expanding pretty rapidly, from around $35 million up to over $121 million. Again, a strong CAGR, nearly 11%.
So it's really across the continent.
Exactly. That widespread growth really highlights how mature the market is there and how integrated it's becoming into all sorts of industries. Big infrastructure projects, cutting-edge academic research, entertainment.
Right. Okay, so moving across the Atlantic then, Europe, also a pretty significant player, bringing in over $347 million in 2021. And the forecast sees it getting close to $1.2 billion by 2033, growing at a healthy clip. What's interesting to me here is Europe's mix of established industries, but also growing digital ambitions. How's that playing out?
Yeah, Europe's growth story is particularly interesting. It's driven by that combination you mentioned, traditional industrial strength, but also a really strong push towards digitization across the board.
Okay.
So we see countries like Germany and the UK making impressive strides. Germany, for example, is showing a particularly strong surge from about $70 million to over $260 million forecast for 2033. That's a CAGR over 11.6%.
Higher than the regional average.
Yeah, slightly. It really indicates that its manufacturing and engineering sectors are heavily investing in this stuff. Think digital twins, quality control.
Makes sense. And the UK?
The UK is also growing steadily, around 11.3% CAG, going from roughly $47 million to $169 million. And then you have France, Italy, Spain, all showing very solid double-digit growth rates too, sort of in that 10.3 to 11.2% range.
So broad-based growth there, too.
Very much so. And don't forget significant contributions from places like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg as well. It really reflects this continent-wide embrace of the technology for, well, everything from urban planning to preserving priceless historical sites.
Okay. Now, here's where the report says it gets really interesting. Asia-Pacific.
Yeah.
This region isn't just growing, it's like remarkably accelerated growth, valued at over $236 million in 2021, but projected to soar to nearly $1 billion by 2033.
Almost hitting that billion-dollar mark, yeah.
And it commands the highest regional compound annual growth rate, over 12.4%. What is going on there? What's behind this explosion in Asia-Pacific?
Well, what's fascinating is how Asia-Pacific is really leading the charge in both adoption and innovation in some areas. China, for instance, is at the forefront,
Right.
driving significant revenue, huge investments in smart city projects, advanced manufacturing. China alone is projected to go from about $70 million in 2021 to nearly $293 million by 2033. That's a 12.6, nearly 12.7% CAGR.
Wow. Okay. But you said something surprising was in the report.
Right. Perhaps the most eye-opening insight is India. It's emerging as a truly high-growth story here, spanning from about $33 million in 2021 to potentially $148 million by 2033.
Okay.
And that comes with the highest CAGR in the entire global market reported in this forecast. We're talking 13.35%.
13.35%. That's incredible. Why India?
Well, it seems to be fueled by a few things converging. A burgeoning tech sector, really rapid urbanization, creating infrastructure needs, and a strong government push for digital infrastructure. All that creates immense demand for precise 3D models for planning, development, you name it.
Makes sense. A perfect storm almost.
Kinda. And beyond China and India, you've got Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, all posting very strong double-digit KGRs, mostly above 11%.
Right.
And Southeast Asia as a whole is playing a vital role too, growing from around $18 million to nearly $79 million. That's another high C share, over 13%. It shows this collective pivot across the region towards digital representations of the physical world.
Really paints a picture of Asia-Pacific as the sort of the hotbed for growth right now.
It certainly seems that way based on these projections.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to South America. The report indicates a growing appetite there for digital design 3D rendering tech. Its market value was just over $62 million in 2021, expected to more than triple, reaching over $235 million by 2033. What applications are driving this in South America?
Well, within South America, Brazil is the leader. It's the region's largest contributor and showing very robust growth from about $23 million projected up to nearly $86 million. That's a strong indicator.
Brazil leads.
Yeah. And it really points to an increasing embrace of these, sophisticated digital tools across the continent. Think infrastructure development, managing natural resources, even things like precision agriculture are starting to use it.
Interesting.
And we're also seeing countries like Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile all progressing rapidly too. KGRs ranging from about 11.1 to 12.2%. It shows that demand for these precise digital models is pretty widespread as these economies keep modernizing and investing in their digital futures.
So solid growth potential across the board there, too.
Definitely.
All right, moving on to the Middle East. This region generated almost $49 million in 2021, forecasted to climb to over $180 million by 2033. Now, given some of the really ambitious, almost futuristic projects we hear about coming out of that part of the world, what specific drivers are fueling this demand?
Yeah, for the Middle East, a huge driver is the sheer scale of urban development and these, mega projects that are underway.
It's large cities.
Exactly. Saudi Arabia, for example, is projected to lead the growth here from about $13.6 million up to over $51 million. And a lot of that is likely tied to these unprecedented investments in smart cities, futuristic urban environments like NEOM.
Right.
These projects are literally being designed, managed, built using extensive 3D digital twin models right from the get-go. That creates just immense demand for 3D reconstruction software.
Oh, okay, so the scale of projects is key.
Absolutely. And additionally, you see the UAE, Turkey, Qatar all showing impressive growth as well, with CAGRs over 11%. It reflects a broader regional commitment to digital transformation, not just in construction, but energy, heritage preservation too.
Fascinating. Okay, finally, let's talk about the African market. Recorded just over $40 million in 2021, set to reach nearly $150 million by 2033. Now, Africa is often seen as a sort of a frontier for tech adoption. What unique trends are emerging there for 3D reconstruction?
Well, in Africa, countries like Nigeria and South Africa seem to be leading the region in adoption. Their CAGRs are projected around 11.1 and 11.4% respectively.
Okay.
This is likely driven by, growing urban populations, increasing investment in infrastructure in those hubs. What's compelling is the potential here.
Right.
While the overall market size is smaller compared to other regions right now, the fundamental need for things like detailed topographical data, urban planning tools, infrastructure development support that need is immense across the continent.
So the foundation is there for future growth.
Exactly. It really sets the stage for a strong upward trajectory as more digital infrastructure gets built out, more resources become available, and the digital economy continues to expand. The rest of Africa category also shows growth, albeit slightly slower, around 10% CAGR.
Okay, so we've covered the globe. Let's try and tie this all together. What does all this regional growth, all these numbers, mean for you, the listener?
Good question.
Connecting it back to tangible applications. It seems clear that across all these regions, 3D reconstruction software isn't just some niche tool anymore, right? It's driving really crucial innovations.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the backbone for incredibly detailed digital twin models, not just of machines, but entire cities, preserving invaluable historical sites with, like, unprecedented accuracy.
Medical imaging, too.
Right. Enabling advanced medical imaging for planning surgery, for diagnostics, and, of course, fueling the next generation of entertainment, VR, AR, immersive experiences.
Yeah, the application range is just huge now. And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how these technologies are rapidly becoming, well, indispensable tools. We live in a visually driven, precision-oriented digital era, and this fits right in.
So lots of opportunity.
Definitely. This deep dive really shows expanding opportunities, not just for the software providers themselves, obviously, but for architects, engineers using digital twins.
Medical professionals.
Right, medical professionals pioneering new techniques, archaeologists recreating lost worlds, creative professionals building entirely new digital realities. The demand for accurate, immersive digital versions of the physical world, it's only going to intensify.
So to kind of sum it all up, we've seen this really immense growth, this widespread impact of 3D reconstruction software across the globe.
Yeah, it's quite a picture.
From North America's innovation hubs really driving adoption to Asia's incredibly fast-scaling digital economy creating new frontiers, Europe's industrial depth embracing efficiency, and Africa's emerging tech landscape, building from the ground up. This tech is truly transforming how we interact with our world.
It really is. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Given this incredible global expansion and all these diverse, impactful applications we've explored, how might 3D reconstruction software fundamentally change how we, just everyday people, interact with and understand our physical world?
Beyond just the professional uses.
Exactly. Beyond professional applications, in the next decade or so, what new possibilities does this suggest for, say, personal use, maybe in education, making history come alive, or even personal content creation?
Interesting.
Or could it lead to completely novel industries we haven't even conceived of yet? It's definitely something to ponder as this technology continues to evolve and spread. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into something impactful, the global 3D reconstruction software market. Our mission, well, our goal for this deep dive is to unpack the critical drivers, the forces pushing it forward, and also the headwinds, the challenges, and the really exciting emerging trends that are shaping its future. This isn't just about creating these incredibly detailed 3D models. It's about how businesses are fundamentally transforming their operations, their client interactions, using these powerful digital tools. And when you think about its sprawling impact across industries, digital design, architecture, even forensics, and highly immersive visualization, well, it becomes clear why this is such a fascinating area to explore, especially if you're looking to quickly get up to speed on what's truly driving innovation here. Okay, so let's unpack this then. What are the major tailwinds? What's propelling 3D reconstruction software forward right now? What's like the biggest force at play?
Yeah, well, one of the most transformative forces we're seeing is how businesses are shifting to a deeply customer-focused model. Think about it. Organizations are moving away from just, simple transactional relationships. They're heading toward long-term engagement strategies. And here, 3D reconstruction software isn't just some design tool. It's becoming more like a predictive empathy engine, if you will. It allows businesses, especially in sectors like construction, real estate, virtual design. It lets them offer incredibly immersive, client-specific solutions. And this leads to far deeper account insights, much better monitoring of crucial metrics, your KPIs, key performance indicators, and remarkably streamlined project life cycles.
Right.
All of this translates into stronger client retention and, yes, crucially, more stable long-term revenue.
That customer-centric shift, yeah, that makes so much sense. Okay, beyond the customer-facing side of things,
Yeah.
how do these powerful 3D tools actually integrate into a company's broader operational backbone? Are we talking seamless connections here, or is it still kind of clunky workarounds?
That brings us neatly to another powerful driver.
Yeah.
The seamless integration with other enterprise systems, particularly CRM and billing. You see, as operational complexity grows, companies desperately need centralized data environments. It's almost a survival need now.
Uh-huh.
So 3D reconstruction tools that can talk effortlessly, communicate easily with platforms like customer relationship management systems, your CRMs and billing, and even advanced analytics suites. Well, those are becoming the true gold standard.
Okay.
And this isn't just about efficiency, though that's part of it. It's about unlocking entirely new strategic insights from data that was previously just stuck in silos. These integrations, they eliminate redundant manual processes, they ensure far more accurate financial management, and they really streamline cross-departmental collaboration.
Right.
Which, leads to smoother execution and delivery overall.
That integration piece sounds absolutely critical. But what about companies built on, say, software as a service models, where subscription management is king? How does 3D software specifically help cut through the complexity of managing all those tiered services and maybe predicting customer churn?
Yeah, you've hit on a major point there, which is our third driver. The heightened complexity within SaaS, software as a service, and other subscription-based business models. As more companies adopt these tiered models, challenged like usage monitoring, renewal management, forecasting customer churn, they just become much more pronounced, much harder to handle manually. This is where advanced 3D software platforms genuinely shine. They're equipped with sophisticated automation features, customer health scoring, and even built-in upselling mechanisms.
Okay, health scoring. How does that work?
Well, imagine not just tracking usage, but having the system analyze patterns, engagement levels, support tickets, stuff like that. It automatically flags accounts that might be at risk of leaving, or maybe identifies clients who are perfect candidates for an upgrade or an additional service.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so this allows businesses to be proactive, not reactive. They can maximize recurring revenues and provide real stability in today's, often volatile subscription-based ecosystems.
Okay, that makes sense. But of course, with any rapidly evolving technology, there are always going to be friction points, right? What we're calling headwinds, things that pose challenges to adoption. What's the biggest initial hurdle companies often face when they're looking to embrace this kind of tech?
The primary restraint quite often is the cost. The cost of implementation and customization. We're talking about significant upfront investments. It's not just the software licenses themselves. Those can be pricey. It's also workforce training, getting your team up to speed. And it's those complex system integrations we just talked about, making it all work together.
Right.
For many small to medium-sized businesses, justifying that total cost of ownership, especially when compared to simpler, maybe manual alternatives.
Yeah.
Well, it can be extremely difficult. It's a bit like looking at a beautifully designed high-performance car. You see the benefits, the potential.
Yeah.
But that initial sticker shock can be a major deterrent. This gap between the perceived long-term value and the initial capital outlay, it remains a significant barrier, especially in emerging markets.
That initial investment certainly sounds like a barrier, especially for smaller players. But maybe for a listener thinking about this, is there a compelling counterargument? Does that initial investment perhaps pay off quicker than one might expect? Maybe in ways that aren't immediately obvious.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point. While the upfront cost is definitely real, the long-term ROI often comes from, surprising efficiencies. Think about eliminating the need for costly real-world prototypes because you have hyper-accurate 3D models, or drastically reducing design iterations, saving engineer time. And then there's the hidden value in just plain competitive advantage. Being able to offer client experiences your competitors simply can't match. So it's not just about saving money in the long run, it's about unlocking new revenue streams and really differentiating yourself in what's often a crowded market.
Okay. That's a good perspective. Now, beyond the financial side, these platforms, as you said, often handle extremely sensitive data. So this raises a critical question. What about data privacy? Regulatory compliance. How big a hurdle is that in practice?
It's a very significant one. Data privacy and regulatory compliance are major hurdles, no question. Because these platforms, they manage high volumes of incredibly sensitive client data, everything from like scanned physical environments
Right.
to proprietary project blueprints and even financial contracts, really sensitive stuff. So ensuring full compliance with frameworks like GDPR, that's the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe, or CCPA in California, requires companies to implement really robust access controls and invest heavily in secure data governance. It's not optional. This intricate and, frankly, constantly evolving regulatory landscape undeniably adds both complexity and considerable cost to what should ideally be a streamlined digital upgrade. It's a non-negotiable layer of protection you have to build in.
It's easy to overlook, but, so often the biggest hurdles aren't technical at all, are they? They're human. What about resistance to procedural change within organizations? Is that a big factor?
Precisely. That's a classic one, isn't it? You have teams accustomed to working with traditional methods, think spreadsheets, manual drawings, maybe some entrenched legacy systems they've used for years. They may genuinely resist adopting newer 3D platforms.
Why is that usually?
Well, this hesitation often stems from a fundamental fear of disruption, you know, or what we sometimes call training fatigue, another new system to learn. Or sometimes it's simply a lack of clarity on the direct return on investment. How does this really help me do my job better? So if adoption is slow, the promised benefits of the innovation, whether that's faster model delivery, deeper client insights, or even just better internal collaboration, they can be significantly delayed.
Yeah.
Sometimes for a very long time, even when the technology itself is clearly superior on paper, it's about changing habits, and that's always harder than changing software.
Yeah, changing habits is tough. But despite these headwinds, these challenges, the horizon does look incredibly promising, doesn't it? Let's shift our focus now to what's next for 3D reconstruction software. What are the truly exciting trends emerging?
Okay, yeah, the future's exciting. A key trend is the increasing sophistication of AI-driven customer insights. Artificial intelligence isn't just processing data anymore. It's being integrated directly into these 3D platforms. And it's automating incredibly valuable functions like account health scoring, which we touched on, predicting renewal probabilities, and even suggesting precise upsell recommendations.
So it's getting smarter about the customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This transforms 3D software into far more than just a design tool. It makes it a powerful revenue-driving engine. By making customer intelligence smarter and much more predictive, businesses can act faster, they can prioritize more strategically, and deliver incredibly tailored, almost preemptive services. Imagine the system flagging a client's potential need for an upgrade before they even realize it themselves. That's the power we're talking about.
Wow. So it sounds like it's not just what the software does, but how easily and intuitively users can tap into its power. User experience seems paramount now.
Exactly right. Another compelling trend is the pervasive shift towards customer-centric user experience, or UX design. Today's platforms aren't just judged on their raw capabilities. They're about democratizing those capabilities, making them accessible. So we're seeing features like mobile-ready dashboards, use it anywhere, real-time collaborative whiteboarding tools built right in, and simplified, intuitive user interfaces that dramatically improve usability. These kinds of experiences, they accelerate team adoption significantly. They reduce training cycles. And they make sophisticated 3D tools far more accessible and powerful across all departments, not just the super technical ones. It's really about making complex tasks feel effortless.
Okay, and if we connect this to the bigger picture then, how are these tools fitting into a company's overall strategic tech stack? Are they still standalone things, or are they becoming part of something larger?
Oh, definitely part of something larger. We're absolutely seeing a significant growth in SaaS-based and truly integrated ecosystems. No longer are 3D platforms these isolated solutions living on their own little islands. Forget that. Instead, they're becoming integral parts of larger modular software stacks. Stacks that seamlessly integrate with billing, CRM, marketing tools, you name it.
How do they connect?
Through robust APIs, application programming interfaces, and often pre-built connectors, it makes linking systems much easier than it used to be.
Right.
This means a move away from disparate systems and data silos towards these interconnected hubs. These integrated ecosystems allow for much more fluid operations, significantly reduced data silos so everyone's seeing the same picture, and ultimately faster project completion across all the customer-facing departments. It's really about creating a unified digital environment where every piece of data supports a more holistic business intelligence.
It's really clear that the global 3D reconstruction software market is evolving incredibly rapidly, not just in its sheer scale, but also its functionality, its accessibility, and its strategic importance. It's truly a testament to how these digital tools are fundamentally reshaping entire industries.
And this has immense relevance for you, the listener. Whether you're in architecture, engineering, entertainment, maybe even retail, these platforms offer a unique window. A window into the future of immersive customer experiences and operational excellence. Businesses that embrace and integrate these powerful tools early, well, they stand to gain a substantial competitive advantage in what's becoming an increasingly digitized and visually driven world. It's really about seeing the future and being able to act on it today.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. As 3D reconstruction software continues its incredible evolution, turning complex data into these intuitive, integrated experiences, what new problems, things maybe currently unimaginable, might it solve for us next? And how will that shape the way we interact with both the digital and the physical worlds around us? Keep exploring and stay curious.